Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 14, Monday Night Football is upon us. And we have a fantastic game between the Los Angeles Rams and the Arizona Cardinals. Two teams, high-powered offenses. They have some solid defenses behind them as well, but I think that this is going to be a high-scoring affair, and Vegas agrees with a total of 51.5, and Cardinals only favored by 2.5 in this one, so it is supposed to be back and forth throughout. Last time they played, the Cardinals kind of throttled the Rams. I think that the Rams are going to have a little bit of stuff covered back to, now that they have some film from this year. They're going to be able to compete a little bit better, and that's good for us, right? We don't want to blow out on a Monday Night Football game or any island showdown game. We want a lot of offense. We want it to go back and forth, and we want touchdowns because that's what makes for a great showdown slate. So we're going to talk about everything that there is to talk about, and we're going to utilize the Fantasy Labs lineup builder. Go to smizzle.tv/labs with an uppercase L. There's a link right down below in the pinned comment if you wanted to check that out. And we are 100 subscribers away from 50,000 subs on this channel. So I wanted to say thank you to everybody. For the last 4.5 years that I've been putting out videos on this channel. We're approaching that 50K mark. When we get there, we're going to do a bunch of giveaways. I'll talk to you about those in a little bit, but thank you very much. So drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get us over 50K on this one if we can. I really appreciate it. Ring the notifications bell, leave me a reply down below, and look out for the recap video for the way everything went during week 14, and it'll be on the second channel, Al Smizzle Games. So let's get to Monday Night Football. Let's go!
He's a legend.
As you guys have wanted me to, and as we've been doing for a little while, we're going to start with a pick'em card on Underdog Fantasy. So if you use code ALSMIZZLE at checkout on your first deposit, not at checkout, on your first deposit, you get a $100 match. So if you deposit $100, you'll get $100 extra put into your account. It's a couple of free things, a couple of free tickets you can fill out. And here's the Monday Night Football game, right? So I usually bet overs on these because they're just more fun, right? Obviously unders are sharper, but I want to bet overs. I'm going to fill out a stupid, really 5-pick card here, right? So let's go over Matthew Stafford. Let's go over Van Jefferson. Over Cup, over Odell. We're just going to go Rams passing game and over Rondale Moore. That's 5, not under, over. What are you doing under? I said overs. We're in the over gang here. Overs are more fun. Unders are more sharp. We try to play for fun. So I'm going to put in 50 to win 1,000. Submit, confirm. That's locked. Let's get on to the slate. As I said, we're going to start with the Rams. The biggest piece of news that we have here for the Rams. Let's isolate. Darrell Henderson Jr., who missed last week's game with an injury, now has popped up on the COVID reserve list. So he's in health and safety protocols. Kudos to Draftkings, though, who priced up his backup, Sony Michel, this week after not doing it last week. So Sony Michel sitting at 7,200. And as you saw, Darrell Henderson is at 7,600. In the case that Henderson wasn't back, we don't get that massive discount to come down to Sony Michel and making it a binary choice. Am I going to play him or fade him? And there's nowhere in between to go. At least now, if Henderson was there, you would have had to say, okay, well, I can't really play Michel. I have to do this. I like it better this way when they price up the backup for what their role would be in the likely case that the starter was out. Now, Henderson was probably healthy enough to play if he did not catch the Rona, but he did. And so now we have another week of Sony Michel. Now we know what he's going to do in weeks where Darrell Henderson is not there. Last week in week 13, 91% of the running back touches for the Rams. McVay runs his offense the way he runs his offense, and players have a specific role, and it's very condensed, I would say. Like there's only a few people that get involved, right? It's not like they play 3 tight ends. They basically run out Higbee on 95% plus of the snaps. It's not like they stretch deep into like 5, 6, 7 pass catchers, right? It's not the Denver Broncos offense where nobody gets over 4 or 5 targets and they target like 8 different people. It's basically just the 3 receivers. Maybe another guy gets a catch here or there when somebody's getting a breather. The running back plays the majority of the snaps, like the vast majority, and gets all the touches. and the tight end is going to play what he plays. So Sony Michel going to step into that highly voluminous role. Last week he had 3 inside the 5 carries, 5 red zone touches. As you see, this absolutely monster game that he had, 24.9 points. I'm not saying he's going to put up like 25 points again, but he's basically going to be the main guy. As it goes for Matthew Stafford, last game that they played, this was way back in week 4. The Rams were just rolling, and then they ran into a massive speed bump here. He still had 20 fantasy points in that game with 2 touchdowns, but just the Rams offense couldn't get anything done, and the defense could not stop Arizona's offense. Now, both offenses and defense are in a little bit different place right now. And typically speaking, I limit to 15% of the quarterback's total at captain. I may expand that this week, 1, because of Kyler's rushing ability, and 2, because of Stafford's ability to get us that 300-yard bonus with 3 or more touchdowns. He can be the guy who can be the winning captain, but 15% basically around that number is captain quarterbacks who have won you a showdown. And when it happens, they just have this monster day, like 5 touchdowns, 400 yards, and they spread it out to a bunch of different pass catchers, which is something that can happen here, even though Cooper Kupp has been the main guy who has been eating. So taking a look at the Rams targets that we have. So obviously Cooper Kupp getting a ridiculous market share, 31.5%, like on pace for like 175 targets, catching a ton of them, 73.5% completion percentage. Already has 100 catches on the year. Absurd year that he's having. Van Jefferson has actually slid into a fantastic role in this offense. Robert Woods' role being taken over by Odell Beckham Jr. Expect him to get about 16 to 18% of the target market share as well. And Tyler Higbee not getting a ton of love, but he has gotten a good amount of usage recently. So in those lineups that have Stafford, we're going to include Kupp, who's been a monster. I was talking about Van Jefferson, 6 or more targets in every game since week 7. So he's carved out a fantastic role when Woods was there, when Woods left, and when Odell Beckham Jr. came in. Solid role for Van Jefferson week in and week out. Definitely gets to challenge downfield, as well as Odell Beckham Jr. challenges downfield as Cooper Kupp runs the underneath and intermediate stuff, and so does Tyler Higbee. So Jefferson and OBJ stretching the field for the Rams. Odell Beckham Jr. has been fine in his first 2 games with 10 targets and then 5 targets, catching a touchdown in both. Still a very talented player. You get a discount going from Van Jefferson to him. I expect Odell Beckham Jr. to be extremely popular this week. Higbee, some are going to say he's disappointing, but like 5 or more targets in every week since week 9. And he kind of yo-yoed before that. So you know that no other tight end, as long as he's healthy, is going to play a ton of snaps, as he plays like 95% of the snaps. And he gets utilized inside the red zone. He should be scoring more touchdowns based on his volume, but he has been a little bit unlucky in terms of touchdown variance. So like he should have something like 5.5 touchdowns right now based on his current usage this year, but he's at 3. So we're going to include him in that group, as well as the kicker, as well as anybody else that you think might catch passes. I'm not going to force Sony Michel into that group, but I'm not going to say that he can't be in there either. Going to build a bring back group with that includes basically every offensive player on Arizona. But before we get there, I did want to remind you again, if you're still watching at this point in the video, thank you very much. If you have not already, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We're 100 away from 50,000. When we get to 50,000 subscribers, we're going to be doing multiple giveaways here on the channel for rotogrinders memberships, for Establish the Run 1-month memberships, Draftkings tickets, and possibly some other stuff from Draftkings. It's going to be really cool, as well as Underdog Fantasy, who's going to take part in that as well. So if you're still watching this point, drop that like, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. It means a lot and takes absolutely no effort and no money from you either. So thank you very much for the continued support. As for Kyler Murray, having another fantastic year, 24.6 fantasy points per game. And look, I thought that Kyler Murray could absolutely break fantasy this year. Coming into this year, I was wrong. Okay? He just isn't running as much, or at least wasn't for a long time during the season. Obviously missed a few games as well due to injury. He came back last week, though, and ran it 10 times. This is the Kyler we want, right? The designed run Kyler, the loot and scoot Kyler. Like, there's nothing here. I'm out. Type of Kyler Murray who can just rip off runs and juke linebackers who are set to spy on him like nobody's business. Now, I don't want him taking hits, right? But throwing the football, he's taken a massive step forward, which we kind of thought was going to be the thing in his third year. Now, if he goes back in the next few weeks to running the ball like last year's Kyler and throwing the ball like this year's Kyler, we may see that game-breaking guy that we saw the first couple of weeks of the season when he was amassing 34 and 38 fantasy points a game. So as I said, I'll definitely allow for more Kyler than that typical 5 to 7% that I allow at captain. And if I'm going to utilize him at captain, I said at captain, I'm going to make sure that I have basically all of his pass catchers, just like we did with Matthew Stafford. Now, DeAndre Hopkins did not play all the snaps last week. It was his first game back from injury, so they kind of had him on a snap count. I expect that to expand this week with an extra day off with them having that Monday Night Football game. And I know that I'm going to get this reply. Well, what if he catches the Ramsey shadow? He's not going to catch a Jalen Ramsey shadow. Jalen Ramsey has not shadowed anybody all year long. That is not how the Rams are deploying him. McVay believes that if they have him, they just glue him to a wide receiver. It's too easy for defenses to scheme him out of the game, and they don't want to do that. He's too good of a football player, so they want him out there making plays. So they're not just latching him on to DeAndre Hopkins. Now, he'll see some of Jalen Ramsey, but he's not going to see a bunch. In fact, the guy who might see the most Jalen Ramsey per Evan Silva from establishtheRun.com. Go to smizzle.tv/ETR if you wanted to get a discounted subscription over to the great content that they have at Establish the Run. He believes that Zach Ertz is going to see more than anybody else, as they've played him kind of in that outside linebacker role. Right, Ramsey is a DB, but playing kind of as an outside linebacker, so he's going to catch Ertz a lot more than he catches Hopkins, at least in coverage. So take that as you will. Obviously, all the pass catchers that exist for that team, Ertz and Green and Kirk. One of my favorites, as you saw during the intro, I think that Rondale Moore is set to have a pretty solid game here, especially for the price at 2,000. Like him a lot, would include the kicker. And as for the two running backs, this is an interesting spot. As Chase Edmonds was designated for return, he is listed as a game time decision. So we have an if-then statement, because I can't, as the time that I'm recording this, I can't possibly tell you exactly what's going to happen. But if he's back, right, if Chase Edmonds is back, he is going to probably go back into his usual role of long down and distance, 2-minute drill, third down back, primarily based around catching the football. And that is going to take down James Conner from this beautiful 5-box running back that he has been the last 4 weeks, back down to this: carries only, no usage in the passing game, and all the inside 5 carries that you can eat. Now, this was the first 6 weeks of the season. This was the when you win, when you roster James Conner and you win for making that pick, what do you win? You don't win all that much. This James Conner, when you win, you can win a ton. So if Edmonds is not activated, I absolutely love James Conner in this game. At home, favored, 5-box running back, absolutely fantastic. If Edmonds is back, you really got to take him down at least a big notch, because he's priced the same as somebody like Sony Michel, who is getting all the usage, and Conner is not going to get all the snaps. He's not going to get all the touches at running back. Going to limit to one of the kickers in defense in this game. And let's go over to the Fantasy Labs lineup builder. As I said before, I don't allow for a kicker or defense. If a kicker or defense becomes the optimal captain in a game, that's just a showdown that I'm not going to win. The 5 rules that I put into place, and I will tweak these, right, if there's certain matchups or certain correlations that I want. This is the base 5 that I start with. Pair your captain quarterback with at least 2 of the wide receiver, kicker, or tight end from their own team. Pair the captain QB with at least 1 of the offensive players, not defense, not kicker, from the opponent. Pair the wide receiver at captain with a quarterback from his own team. Pair the captain tight end with his quarterback, and limit to at most 1 defense and kicker from the same game. The last group that we're going to build, I don't do it for this because I don't have the percentages yet, but we're going to use at least 1, and then pick like a bunch of players, not like 20 of them, but pick like between 4 and 8 players that you project to be under 25% on that showdown slate, so that you make sure that every lineup has at least 1 low percentage player in it. Sometimes you're going to get yourself into a situation where you're going to play too much chalk And you don't want to do that in a showdown, right? You're going to force a little bit of differentiation. You don't have to force all that much. There's only so many plays that you can make. So when you force that differentiation into your lineups, there's always going to be splitting when it comes to DraftKings Showdown. But you want to, if you win, you want to win with maybe splitting with 5 or 10 people. Hopefully you can win solo, but it's entirely difficult to do that. But if you can win splitting with 5 or 10 people, you win an awful lot of money, and you avoid splitting with 100 or 500 people where you really don't win much. So that last player group does that. We've sorted by floor, so don't bother copying these lineups down. It's absolutely worth nothing to you at this point. But learn how to build those good lineups, whether you're using the lineup builder or whether you're building by hand. Thank you guys very much for watching. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.